Good day, everyone. And again, one more time, welcome to our webinar for business benefits of implemented mobile device management for Android devices. Great to see you. And first of all, let me please introduce myself. I'm Lydia, and I'm R&D Delivery Manager at Apriorit. In today's digital world, mobile devices have become an essential tool for organization to stay connected and productive. So, however, managing these devices in a highly regulated industry such as finance, healthcare, government, and education can be really complex and challenging task, especially when it comes to ensure the data security and regulatory compliances. So I have some questions for you who already joined our webinar. So please write down into our chart, maybe just a simple one word from which industries you are now working at. It would be very good for us to know this. So based on our experience, we know how MDM, so waiting for your answers and I will continue. We know how MDM can help organization and financial in the banking sector to ensure and access to financial information, the maintaining compliances with industry regulation and prevent data breaches. In the healthcare sector, we know how MDM can help organizations manage sensitive patient data, maintain HIPAA compliances, and ensure secure communication among healthcare professionals. And in the government and educational sector, we know how MDM can help organizations manage and protect sensitive information to improve communication and enable remote work and learning. So in this webinar, we will explore the key benefits of implementing MDM for Android devices and how it can help organizations in different sectors improve employees' productivity, reduce operational costs, and enhance security and streamline device management. So sit back, listen, watch attentively, and get ready to learn how mobile device management can transform when to manage your organization mobile devices in the industries. And also we'll be glad to hear your question and then of our session. Of our webinar, there will be a session for question and answers. So I'm thrilled to introduce our key speaker for today, Eugene Koshel. Eugene is our senior Android developer with more than 6 years experience in MDM solutions. He has worked on multiple projects in the field of MDM and MAM. Currently, Eugene is also doing his PhD in computer science, and we are incredibly fortunate to have his expertise and insights on the webinar today. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Eugene. So Eugene, it's your time, please.
Yep, thanks, Lydia, for the incredible introduction. And first, let me check some things. Can you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you very well, and I think the others also.
Yep, and another thing to check is, do you see the slides changing?
Yeah, I can see everything pretty clear.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, everything seems to be working fine, so we can start. Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Eugene, and I hope you are having a great day, and let us start the presentation and learn about MDM and how to use it and why you should use it. So our agenda on today is as follows. First, we will talk about what actually is MDM, define it in some abstract terms. Then we'll look at some possible applications, like like what the ideas of the MDM are and how you can apply them in various situations. And then we'll actually take a look at some ways of implementing MDM. I will discuss 3 different approaches that lead to basically the same outcome, but are very different in their development and implementation. And then we'll discuss some practical examples that will help you understand how to make decisions regarding MDM and how to integrate them into your company's workflow. And then after that, we will discuss how you can expand your MDM solution going to the future. So what is mobile device management? Mobile device management, or MDM for short, is a way for businesses or individuals to remotely manage and apply various policies to mobile devices. This definition implies that the MDM solution consists of at least two components. First component is a server that stores the policies, pushes them to devices, and provides UI for the administrators to configure these policies. And the second component is a helper application that is installed on the managed device to receive the policies and actually apply them. For devices, generally speaking, uh, like they don't come with a pre-installed helper application. A device has to be enrolled into the MDM, which is done by the company itself if it owns the devices, or by the users if they wish to use their personal device. The company-owned devices are usually enrolled in bulk, uh, pre-configured with some policies, and then handed to the employees, to the users. And the advantage of company-owned devices is that the administrators can apply any policies and don't worry about affecting them. Uh, like they don't have to worry about the policies affecting the user's personal data, because users aren't supposed to store it on the company-owned device. But the user-owned devices have like they have to be enrolled by the users themselves, and the users will have to install the helper application and consent to all the policies that are going to be enforced on the device. And the main advantage of this bring your own device approach is its cost efficiency, because the company doesn't actually have to buy these devices. The disadvantage, however, is that the policies and the administrators will have to be very careful not to interfere with the user's personal data. Uh, so when the device is enrolled, the MDM solution can be used to uh, collect the relevant metrics from the devices. And for example, the device can be monitored for suspicious activity to quickly detect if it's been compromised, to wipe any sensitive data. The MDM can also track the device usage statistics, for example, to monitor performance, and all the collected metrics can be analyzed to identify possible anomalies or even cyber attacks. Uh, okay, some uh, yeah, possible applications of MDM. Like first and the most obvious application of an MDM solution is to provide the users with access to business data while managing this access and ensuring it's safe and secure. The policies that would help to accomplish this include the VPN policy that uh, ensures that the traffic is encrypted and routed to company service, and the device password policy that ensures the data on the device can only be accessed by the users themselves. The device storage encryption policy that will make sure the data is safe even if device is stolen, uh, etc. The second way the MDM concept can be applied is providing the customer with devices for self-service. The MDM policies can be used to restrict the device functionality to a single task, turning it into a single-purpose kiosk. And another example is to have the MDM policies that would lock down the device like completely after a certain period of time, which can be used to restrict the usage time or set a specific time windows during which the device can be used. And similarly to the previous point, the MDM policies can be used to implement parental control applications. The solution can be set up to restrict the usage of certain applications, blacklist or whitelist websites, monitor device usage statistics, and etc. Speaking of flavors of MDM solutions, the most flexible but also the most mountain approach to implementing the MDM like is to do everything from ground up. This approach avoids all the limitations that are imposed by either the existing Android API or any off-the-shelf solutions. Uh, a typical fully custom Android MDM project consists of the following components. First one is modified firmware. that exposes restricted or custom API. The second is a companion application that can access the said API and enforce MDM policies on the device. And the third one is an MDM server that pushes and manages the policies. The companion app is separated from the firmware because it makes it easier to introduce changes without requiring the user to flash the device with a new firmware each time an update is released. Most Android devices on the market come with API that can be used for uh, like it can be used by various applications that have obtained certain permissions, and sometimes like uh, the application can use the already available API to basically implement all the required MDM policies. And sometimes the application that actually does that is already included with the Android itself or is available on the Play Market. Like for example, the Android Enterprise solution. Google provides API endpoints and the application and an application that you can download from the Play Store and push specific policies to enrolled devices. Since Google takes care of basically everything on the device, the developers will only have to create a front end for the administrators to interact with Google provided APIs. And it seems easy until you see the list of requirements the solution will have to comply with and all the verifications will have to pass for Google to actually allow your solution on the market. Samsung, for example, uh, provides similar API, and it's called Samsung Knox. It's only it's not a web API, and it's instead a library for Android that can be used to enforce policies. To use this library, an Android application has to be installed on a Samsung device and have a license key. Different license keys provide access to different functionality of this API. And while this Samsung's approach is more flexible in its implementation, it's restricted to Samsung devices, and the API itself is currently being deprecated in favor of Android Enterprise. And another option is to use a generic Android API that is available on basically all devices. The device administration API is only useful for the most basic policies because the user can easily go and revoke the application's admin permissions. In cases where the app only needs to protect business data, this is manageable and acceptable because the app can detect when the permissions are lost and remove all sensitive data from the device. But in some use cases, like for example, the parental control, the application cannot lose any permission without approval, basically. And this is where the device owner API comes in. It requires the applications to be installed from a PC, but it grants much wider permissions than basic device administration API. For example, it's impossible for the user to delete the application by normal means, like by going to settings and pressing uninstall, for example. And still, this like all of these approaches are crude somewhat and don't provide granular control over the different aspects of the device. Sometimes the MDM needs to know exactly what the user is looking at each point in time and decide if the user is supposed to see that thing or not. This might seem extreme for employee management, but sometimes, for example, like for parental control, it can be very useful. The third category of MDM solution I wanted to talk about is off-the-shelf solutions. Since the COVID pandemic, the workforce of many companies have became very very distributed, and a need appeared to provide access to business data from anywhere, but in managed and secure manner. Different companies jumped at the opportunity and developed their own MDM solutions. All these solutions are mostly business oriented, and it's not really possible to apply them in any other use cases we've talked about. Uh, so yeah, we can see that Google has their own solution, the Google Workspace, which comes it, it comes bundled with the entire Google Office suite. IBM have their own MDM solution that focuses on security. Citrix has a MDM solution that is user centric and allows the users use more than one device, and like the payment scheme is very is very effective. Uh, okay, the things we discussed earlier are like very abstract, so let's balance it out by comparing some like by exploring some practical examples and see which approach is best in each of them. The first example is a logistics company. Uh, like, what does this company do? A logistics company moves and stores products. It uh, makes sure that products get efficiently transported from the producers to the consumers, like wherever along the supply chain they might be. And in order to move the products efficiently, its employees will have to have access to a lot of critical business information. But accessing this information can be uh, problematic. Here are possible problems that will have to be addressed. First one is that the workforce is massively distributed. Second one is that different locations might not have enough internet bandwidth to efficiently communicate with the servers. So there will be a need to store some information on the device locally. And the third one is it can be very beneficial for planning and things like that if the managed devices have GPS tracking. So, for example, the company can know which employee is doing what and where, especially people like truck drivers or people who move goods. And now let's discuss each of the approaches and see how they can be applied to solve these problems. If the company decides to implement a fully custom solution, it will bring the following pros. First, the resulting software will be tailored specifically to companies' needs. The devices will have the exact specs, and they will be like it will be guaranteed that will be able to handle the workload and have all the required policies uh, basically pre-installed. And secondly, the dependence on third-party providers will be very loose. If it's found that any of the solutions components doesn't satisfy the requirements anymore, it can be swapped for another one or just removed. Meanwhile, the cons in this case are, uh, first of all, the overall cost of the development. A complete MDM solution is complex and can require a lot of time and resources to get all of the components finished. Second is that the expertise required to develop a complete MDM solution is very wide, uh, from low-level programming to front-end development. It can be hard to find developers that are right for the job. And the last one is potentially costly upkeep. Uh, you'll have to keep an eye on the frameworks you use and update your own product to avoid security issues, etc. And you also have to communicate with the device manufacturer if they like decide to stop producing your devices or just quit working with you. You'll have to find a new manufacturer and spend a lot of time porting the uh, low-level operating system changes to the new platform. So with this approach, you'll be able to implement precisely everything you need: the secure tunnel intercompany servers, the encrypted local storage for caching important data, device tracking, etc. But you'll be somewhat limited by the hardware and dependence on the manufacturer that produces it. Okay, the second approach is the hybrid one. And in this case, it has a number of advantages over the fully custom solution. First of all, it's flexible, and the solution can be uh, it will not be restricted to a single type of devices that the manufacturer provides, uh, and hence the dependence on the manufacturer will be greatly reduced. Second is that since uh, it will use API that's present on most devices, employees will be able to use their own devices in build configuration. And the third one is that developers will not have to deal with low-level systems programming and instead focus on implementing the MDM policies using the existing API. And this will save time both during development and the support phase. The cons, however, are as follows. Uh, First one is that the existing API might not provide the full range of functionality to cover all the policies exactly. There will be uh, like need to implement some workarounds or make compromises. And secondly, the target devices will have different versions of base Android OS, plus a number of custom modifications that various vendors themselves might make. This means that the solution will have to be tested extensively uh, on the wide variety of devices before actually deploying it. So yeah, with this approach, we trade some control for flexibility, but in this case, the final product will be more lightweight and have a wider variety of uses. For example, the BIOT approach. And lastly, uh, let's see what an off-the-shelf solution can do for us. The obvious benefit is that it's an already developed software complex, and the development time here includes mostly integration with the services that are already being used by the company and some integration maintenance. Secondly, there are quite a few MDM solutions that so it's possible to pick one which has the policy set that overlaps the most with the requirements of the company. And third one is it will be uh, like very easy, selecting the uh, off-the-shelf solution can be very easy because there are a lot of companies that already tapped into this market and have implemented their own solutions. Like the choices, it's very wide. But there are also some cons. First of all, once you pick a solution, you'll be basically stuck with it, and you will have to use whatever features they provide without the possibility to change anything. This is not ideal, especially when the new requirements pop up, and they do so usually very suddenly and unexpectedly. And the second con is that there can be features that you don't exactly need, but you will still have to pay for them. For example, the Google Workspace that provides a complete Google Office suite that you might not be interested in at all. So to conclude, the custom solution seems like an overkill in this case. The company doesn't need as many degrees of control, so this approach can be traded for something more lightweight. The hybrid approach can be attempted, but only if none of the off-the-shelf solutions have the required feature set, uh, and, and only if the feature set itself is small enough to warrant the actual development. And the off-the-shelf solutions, they provide basically most of the features we discussed. The yeah, they implement those features a bit differently and have slightly different flow and approach to administration, but they will most likely all be covered.
Thank you, Eugene. Very nice example regarding the enterprise MDM solution. I would like to jump in. So my question is, do we have someone here in the chat who is using an MDM enterprise solution for their work? If yes, just simply type in the chat yes and write in each field, in each directory of the company you are from. So it will be very interesting because we hear the example of logistic. Yes, but there is a financial banking sector, maybe someone who is on our webinar using. So it would be nice to know this. Please type your examples of MDM enterprises if you're using it in our chat. And okay, thanks, Eugene. Please go ahead.
Yep. So yeah, let's move to another example. This time I want to talk about the parental control, and the most important features that come to mind are the screen time scheduling, inappropriate traffic filtering, granular mobile application management, and etc. Basically. And yeah, let's again go through all the three approaches and see what they can do to solve this problem. First one is the custom solution. So yeah, its main advantage, once again, is that it allows almost unlimited control over the device's functionality. And the aspects of the operating system can be tweaked so that it fits the purpose exactly. The second one is because of this flexibility, the solution can even change some of the device's core behaviors to make make it impossible to bypass the MDM policies. For example, the creation of new users or access to safe mode can be completely disabled on the operating system level. And the like regarding the traffic filtering feature, it can be baked into the routing table of the system itself, so that it will be physically impossible to for the traffic to go like around the MDM policies. And the cons are that the solution can only be sold along with the device. So if the device's hardware and the feature set of the solution have uh, like are not attractive enough for the users, they will not buy it basically. Yeah, so the devices have to be powerful enough to have any success on the market. And secondly, some features on modern devices will only work if the device is verified to be secure by Google, which is hardly achievable on custom firmware. One example of such feature is NFC payments. So yeah, this approach once again provides the most control, but suffers from the lack of flexibility. The hybrid solution will have lower entry barrier for users because it will be able to function on almost any device, and that's an obvious advantage. It will also be able to enforce the MDM policies by using the Android device management and device owner API to control the global settings of the device, and use something like accessibility service to apply granular device dependent policies. But it also has some drawbacks. First major one is that the latest versions of Android come uh, with APIs that are restricted or deprecated, and it will force the developers to cover the gaps in functionality with something like an accessibility service once again. And secondly, the issue can be that it can be hard to keep the user from bypassing the policies because we don't have that much control over the operating system. For example, if a device from some vendor has a custom way of accessing the safe mode or some special settings screen, it will be impossible for the MDM to detect it, and the user will be able to bypass the policies completely or even remove the MDM agent itself. Yeah, this approach requires extensive research to make sure the implemented features are supported on a wide variety of devices. But it can be worth it in the end if the core functionality is robust enough and the feature set is appealing to the potential users. From the developer's point of view, there are no pros in using an off-the-shelf off-the-shelf parental control solution because there's basically nothing left to implement or develop. The only thing that we can look for is the set of features that users enjoy if the users are happy with them, of course. But there are also some cons that might persuade the users to look for alternative solutions.
Yeah, and I would also like to add, thank you, Jim, because I think not also like potential lack of features, but I think it's not on the shelf solution is not reliable because I have a real example, practical example actually. This is my friend's kid. So he found a way how to bypass the on-shelf solution MDM for kids and played games and watch YouTube videos a lot on his phone. And for a long time, they didn't know this. So yeah, I also can add that it's not reliable. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yep, the con I want to talk about is that the feature set can be incomplete on even on the off-the-shelf solution, even on the established one, like the built-in Google parental control. Like it doesn't cover all the cases, and obviously kids can be very creative with the ways of bypassing anything that's limiting them. So yeah, for example, for the traffic filtering, like it can be very imprecise and allow some sensitive content to be displayed in search results, ads, some third-party applications. And another thing that comes to mind is that the most parental control like granularity in restricting access to applications. For example, let's say a user's family uses a messenger to communicate with one another and their friends, but there is a possibility for some users in this messenger or groups to share some inappropriate content. And one way to deal with that issue is to block the application, but then it will be impossible for the uh, user to communicate. Basically, they will have to switch to something else, which can be like unacceptable. And but a custom or a hybrid MDM solution might be able to address this issue by, for example, filtering the traffic that carries the inappropriate content, or by using the accessibility service to block any aspects of the application which are not related to communicating with family. And this service can track the screen and close the application immediately if it detects that user tries to access the disallowed features. And so, in conclusion, the custom solution is only viable if you are sure you can deliver the performant device and that that the users can use as their daily driver. And the degrees of freedom of this approach will allow you to provide airtight security and complete control over device features. The hybrid solution, it's important to emphasize the features that the regular parental control apps might not have. It's also important to provide a smooth user experience so that the user will keep using your solution and not change to something that's already there. And yes, for the off-the-shelf solutions, in this case, they're mostly competitors, and all we can do is to learn from them.
Yeah, thanks. So this is the end, I think, of the parental control, practical example. So I would like to ask a question to everyone. So Does everyone, does anyone, yeah, use the parental control for their kids? If yes, please share us that. Just simply type the word yes, and it will be interesting for us to understand how many users in our webinar use MDM, kids MDM, or maybe someone is using for their wives or for husbands. I don't know. So it would be nice also to know this. Okay, thank you, Eugene. So I think we are done with practical examples. Yes. And we can, oh yeah, embedded. I saw the question, the answer, one of the embedded into iOS. Yes, that the iOS, it was one of the shelf solution that can be easily overcome by a smart kit. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for your answers. We can see that I can see that you are pretty good public. We have many answers because I don't know, some of them answered to the everyone chart, some I have answers privately, but okay, I see all of them. Thanks. Okay, Eugene, please go ahead.
Uh, yep. Like once you have a MDM solution developed, what can you do to improve it or expand it? Well, the one approach most companies take is to bring their MDM, which is mobile device management, and make it into an UEM, which is unified endpoint management. Uh, this is basically expanding the definition of MDM and applying the same idea, the same policies, and basically the same approach, not only to mobile devices but also to other kinds of devices like personal computers, tablets, laptops, even servers, which basically anything that can access the internet, which is why it's called unified endpoint management. This is motivated obviously by the fact that employees rarely use only a mobile device to do their work, and yeah, they also use desktops and now increasingly the Internet of Things devices. And the policies that are applicable to like the ones we discussed that are applicable to mobile devices, like the storage encryption and VPN, are also applicable to most of those devices as well. And also the policies are actually configured for like not for the specific device, but with actual user in mind. So you can set up a bunch of policies for a single user, which might use different devices and apply the same set of policies on a wide range of devices that this same user might use. So basically, uh, like Citrix does, like we discussed earlier. Yeah, so there are a lot of paths to expand and improve on your MDM solution, and yeah, this approach definitely has a bright future. And this is all I wanted to talk about today. So I also want to thank you for your attention and obviously ask if there are any questions.
Okay, thank you, Eugene, so much. It was really interesting and very useful, I think, for me also. For me, definitely, it's very useful webinar. I hope that for everyone also. So I think you prepared some questions during Eugene's speech, so it would be nice to hear your questions. So please type it or privately or in the general chat. So I will read, and me with Eugene will try to answer you. Okay, waiting for your questions. I think you already have some questions. Okay, we have the first question. Okay, how do you make an app trust the filtering traffic from the server? Okay, thanks. Great question.
Yep, I think it related to the granular network, the yeah the granular control over which traffic is allowed on the device. So Yeah, the way Android works is that it allows you to route traffic to your VPN service and basically do anything you want with it. And to filter it, you can set up a basic firewall, or if you do some kind of advanced filtering, you will uh, like it will be a strict requirement to set up some kind of man-in-the-middle attack on some kind of server that will intercept the TLS traffic, which is encrypted, decrypt it, analyze it, maybe change some things, repackage it again, sign it with its certificate, and send it back to the device. And the VPN server that runs on the device will then route this traffic back to the client, basically. But the Android, uh, like contrary to popular belief, it's very secure operating system, and Google enforces a lot of security policies. And one of these policies is that like it's there is only a limited set of websites or servers that the device is able to securely interact with. And most applications use something called certificate pinning, which allows them to include certificates that are not Google approved uh, to communicate with some third-party servers. And what you can do is that you can uh, basically get an APK of the application you want to repackage traffic for, uh, unpack it, put your own certificate in there, pack it again, and then reinstall it on the user device. And basically, you'll have the same application, but it will also trust the repackaged traffic from your server. So yeah, hope this answers the question.
Okay, thanks, Eugene. Oleg, I hope we full answered your question. Okay, we have also next question from Elena. So what is the approximate cost of the solution based on development from scratch or use of the shelf? Okay, yeah, it's a very interesting question. I think it's better for me to answer this question because I'm a person who's working a lot with money in Apriorit. It varies. So from everything, each solution will vary. And for example, it depends on the needs. So first of all, let's talk about from development from scratch. It depends on you need the MVP, so the most viable solution that you go to the market and see if the market need and what market need and which features you would like to add. Yes, in such case, this solution will cost around $150,000. If you would like to have the full solution, yes, detailed solution, completed and everything will be done, it will be cost around 200 up to $300,000. And it will also include MDM, the Android coverage, and the front and back, the admin panel, like in the first case and in the second case. But the only different, the first the first price I tell you about like MVP, the second is around fully solution. If you're talking about of the shelf, Eugene told about a lot of vendors, at least he mentioned 3 or even 4 vendors that produce of the shelf solutions, and there are even more, and the prices varies from around $5-6 up to $15 per device per month. So it depends which features you would like to be include, the term, how long, short term or long term, how many devices you will have, the more devices, yes, it will be more discount for each device. So it varies, and each case should be discussed with the provider of shell solution. separately. So for us, it's difficult to calculate the off-shelf solution, but it will be, as we mentioned before, it will be some limited amount of features. So what they provide, it all can be included to your solution. So I hope I answer your question. Any more? Okay, just, oh yeah, I have another one question. Okay, Anton, thank you for your question. So my question is about the security of the custom implementation. How can we ensure that only the agent app can access the custom operational system API? So I think this is more for Eugene.
Yep. So the Android itself also has some API that's only accessible to a selected set of application. And basically, the way this set is formed is by restricting, like, the API is only accessible to those applications that were signed with the same key that the operating system itself. So when you build a firmware image, you sign it with some private key, so that when the vendor or something like or someone else flashes it onto their device, they can check it and verify that it's actually uh, like official firmware that came from an official vendor. And so the vendor can authorize some partners and share their key and develop some applications or system tools that are allowed to access this low-level, potentially dangerous API. So yeah, for custom solution, you can make something like that, and also check the signature of the application that attempt to access your API. But an alternative solution is the Samsung approach, and like they have the license key, and you like when you when you initialize the Samsung API, you have to provide the license key, and then it goes and verifies it on their servers. And if your license key is valid, it grants you a token that allows you to access the API and apply all the policies with Samsung Knox. So yeah, you can also adopt this approach, but it's more complicated. It obviously requires you to set up the license verification server. So yeah, the approach with just verifying the signature is more like it's easier and more secure. Yep, I hope this answers.
Yeah, thank you, Eugene. So I think we have a little bit more time. So one more question will be definitely covered. Maybe we'll try to cover even more. So do we have, oh, okay, we have a question from the Kate. So I have a question about filtering traffic. Could you please describe how does it work on the low level?
Yep, I
Thank
mentioned it earlier. So yeah, the way it works is that you create a VPN server, uh, the local one. The Android API provides you with the ability to create a so-called VPN service, and uh, behind the scenes, this API creates a custom VPN interface, the virtual interface, and instructs the system to route all the outgoing traffic to this interface. And you can read from this interface and get basically all the packets that were routed to it. And yeah, you can access these packets, see what's inside of them, and decide what to do with them, basically. So yeah, you can bypass them, you can block them. So you can have a basic firewall, and you can have a range of IPs or domain names filtered. But also you can set up a redirection, so you can implement any kind of proxy. It will be more low level, but also more flexible. Yep. So
Thank you. And we have one question. I think it will be the last one because we have limited time. So from Michael. So I'd also like to ask about performance. What does it happen upon and which approach is the most efficient?
Mm, yep. The performance, like it depends a lot on the features that the MDM solution has. For example, if we have something simple, for example, a solution for employees that keeps the like that's sets up a VPN connection and keeps some business data on the device in an encrypted storage. It will not consume a lot of power because it's just a regular uh, VPN service plus a once a lifetime event of encrypting some directory on your device. So the power cost can be uh, like minimal and performance like it will be very high because it hardly does anything. So yeah, and if you do something like parental control, which has to monitor the device basically all the time and use a lot of uh, uh, a lot of system resources to do all the analysis and policy break prevention stuff. This can have some impact on performance, but it also depends on how well the solution is implemented. Uh, Also, the custom MDM solutions will generally be more performant because we'll be able to offload a lot of functionality onto the system itself and avoid doing a lot of work in the actual agent application. So you'll be able to take shortcuts and have some performance benefits. And for off-the-shelf solutions, it basically depends on the on the solution itself. You'll have to compare on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you, Eugene. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Okay, welcome. Okay, very nice to see you, all of you, on our webinar. It was also great to hear your questions. Great question, thank you. Okay, I think thank you too for attending the webinar, and thank you. One more thanks for Eugene. So, hello, bye, bye everyone. See you in our next webinar.